in the game itself. Raxo had a bit of a shocker at level 1 when they went for an engagement that
Bit of a
definitely
stinker.
didn't go their way. And then the rest of the top side really got kind of ran over. Rangjun had some really difficult times in the mid lane playing the Ori and got picked off by an Akali several times. But the hope is here that they can turn it back around. They're up against a BDS Academy squad that know what they like to draft. They have a very core identity that they like to go for, and maybe they can do it once more and really just steamroll another or steamroll this match.
Yeah, probably going to be expecting to see that Graves once again, potentially for Shio. Seemed to be his preferred pick in terms of priority. Maybe take that in response, obviously, with the Wukong being taken off the table. Maybe take the Ari as well.
There's a couple of options certainly for them. Plenty of things that they can go for specifically. The ADC pick for Crowny is an Aphelios, and we saw this from Exekick in day number 1 from LDLC. So this is a bit of a contested pick, I suppose, between those top teams, it looks like. But taking an Aphelios fairly early on is certainly a statement that this champion is not gone, at least not on 12-9.
This is interesting. So we spoke about this yesterday. For me, Lee Sin's slightly above in terms of the priority. It's interesting to see them adapt in this sense. They obviously picked the Graves last time because they wanted to pair it with that Victor on the B2. They obviously don't have that luxury being red side today. Aphelios, Lee Sin, what do you think about this rotation?
You know, I'm yet to be convinced, but what I think is that BDS have this knowledge that they can maybe go for a bit of a hands check onto Mirage here. They've got really scrappy teams or a really scrappy set of champions already. Lee Sin loves to get some early engagements going. The Aphelios post level 1 loves to do the exact same. We've got a Jinx Thresh locked in from the bot lane. This is like 3, 4 patches ago right now that we're defaulting back to. If this Nautilus gets locked in, this is like we've started season 12 all over again with these champ selects.
It's quite ironic, isn't it? And it's almost mirroring
Mm.
BDS's draft last split in terms of it's actually just fully on the flip side. They lock in the Jinx and then they already get that Thresh, so they've got a bit more protection. We obviously saw Crown Shot yesterday not having that protection on the Jinx, and then that second ban phase, you had champions like the Thresh and the Tahm Kench being taken away. Mirage have sort of learned from the sins of Crown Shot yesterday and managed to secure a bit more safety for that Jinx here.
Yeah, that's the hope at the very least, right? There's still that slight chance that Raxo tries to pair up with Memento once again, and they go for some aggressive invades into the jungle, some aggressive looks to try and pick off somebody. The Viego Fresh combo, not dissimilar to to Graves Nautilus that they ran yesterday, and that certainly had its moments where for Shio and Air rather, that certainly had its moments where it was quite impactful.
Yeah, so for me right now, with this Ari ban being taken off the table, I'm looking to see maybe one more ban towards the mid lane from BDS, and then potentially look for that mid lane at blind, and then look for the top lane counter on R5. I'm hoping that that's the case. TF obviously coming out in response would give them a bit more of a cerebral uh, cross map ability for them, which I don't think they really want to do. It's a champion that Rika obviously wants to default to. The early game playmakers with a lot of agency is how the BDS Academy wants to export the pressure outside of mid lane and to the
I
side
mean,
lanes.
and even if we just look at yesterday, right, Rika played the victor and was the large reason for why they were able to sustain in the game for quite so long in the late game of the late stages of the team fights because Rika was pumping out damage left, right, and center. Would I be surprised to see that this Ari ban is just something that Rika doesn't feel he can get that early or get that priority or whatever you may feel up against? And if he's setting up for that victor blind pick, then Ari seems like the perfect ban to go for. BDS Academy as a team always they've started to show that they can play towards Adam, that they want to utilize this new top lane that they've brought down, and that they can hopefully facilitate for success.
Yeah, 100% going to be taking that Victor from game one. We spoke about how Rika, during that game, able to put out a lot of damage in the later stages of the game, helped by Shio and Erdo, obviously, to get to that point. But once he reached that point, really able to kind of bring back a lot of pressure in the game, output a lot of damage, and almost bring his team back into it.
Now, this is a area now for Mirage where they have to really decide what their comp wants to do because they've still got the solo lane flexibility that provides. So far, they've got just base of a really good team fight. Now they can choose whether they want to try and match team fight of Aphelios Victor or whether they want to try and opt into some side lane pressure. You could go for a potential melee mid and then go for a fairly aggressive top lane style. They go for double AP. You have got that option now to try and split push. It's a blind pick Akali into the top lane for Bad Lulu. And the question then becomes, what do BDS Academy want to try and take into this? Olaf has been an answer
Mm.
for Adam previously, but that was his blind pick when they ban away some good champions yesterday. Have to see if he wants to go for it once more. Don't necessarily need another magic damage source here if you are BDS Academy. You have got Victor who's going to do more than enough.
It wasn't Adam that picked Olaf yesterday, it was Cabochard, but it was something that potentially
Oh,
could have been on
yes.
the table. Garen, a pick that we don't see a lot of.
Okay.
Very.
I love this. I love this pick into Akali, right? The thing that makes Akali so tricky, so annoying to play against is her shroud. What does Garen do? He spins in the center of the shroud and can just continually trace the Akali to make sure that you're always dealing damage regardless. I'm going to say something that's fairly mean-worthy here. Garen combos, as far as they go, fairly limited. But when you're trying to run forward, you try and start off with your silence, and then you want to go for your spin so that people can't get away. The way that Akali would like to counterplay that is by getting the shroud down prior to getting silenced, and then you use the spin to win to, trace where the Akali's going. So it's certainly going to be a fairly entertaining matchup in the top lane. You have Ignite on Garen as well, so when you ding that level 6 marker, you just deal half of somebody's HP in true damage regardless, right? As long as you get in range, you're able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Would it be fair to say then we talked about how Mirage were a team that needed to show a bit more identity, especially coming out of draft phase? Are you a bit happier with this draft today? Do you think there's a bit more of a clear way to play the game?
Yeah, they've got these tools, right? They've got a late game, or they've got a team fight setup that they've got there. Engage isn't going to be all that easy to come by. Looking at their composition, they're going to be low around those picks. They've got Veigar Viego, which is a very lethal two-man at trying to isolate one target. Thresh as well can be utilized to do the same thing. But when it look at that overall five-man team fight arc, you're relying really heavily on the Akali, on the Jinx to do the damage throughout, because you're looking at Veigar very burst damage that comes out in like slight intervals, right? 2-3 seconds between his damage spurts coming through, and the Event Horizon as well tends to have a little bit of downtime to sort of play into those team fights. You're looking for a one and done pick type situation, and if somebody tries to limp away, for example, you have got that Jinx Rocket to finish them off.
Yeah, yeah, completely. I think an important thing to note for me this game is watching what Shio does different in contrast to the first game. First game, he was able to find that early first blood. Transitioned it was a little bit greedy in terms of his tempo in going for that Rift Herald as well. That allowed the map state to be set up in a way that was detrimental to Crown Shot and left him very exposed and bare on the map. Can he do better to allow Crown Shot to get to that late game phase where he is known for being able to put up those carry damage numbers?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've done our bit for the draft. We're going to cut to a quick break before we head on to the Rift for game number 2. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. And there we are, folks. Game number 2. BDS Academy versus Mirage Elyandra. Both teams looking for their first win of the split. Obviously, one of them is going to come by it in this game. Question remains to be who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're BDS Academy, it's a hard fought loss last game. Obviously, coming up against one of the stronger teams in the league, if not the strongest. Mirage kind of got a little bit battered and bruised in their previous encounter on the Rift, so going to be a case of once again coming up against a tough opponent. It's a tough week 1 for them. Can they sort of consolidate any sort of a bit of a back and forth in this game? Will be interesting to see. I'd like to see a bit more of a clear game plan from them at least. It's going to be BDS Academy all moving in as a 4-man unit into this top side. Not too sure.
Really good level 1 from Mirage as well. It may seem a little bit redundant, but just sitting in the right places of Summoner's Rift is always important. That's a pincer that they're trying to make on an overextended member in the late, or in the river brush, I suppose, of top lane, not the tri brush. And now Rangjun maybe a little bit in trouble. Is there a flash?
Erdo might look for a flash here. He sees him. He's just going to go for the hook straight up. Rangjun going to get queued up here by Shio. Has to flash out. Raxo is here to protect that. But Rangjun, we spoke about him playing these immobile mages. Not having flash is such an important thing. We saw him yesterday getting punished multiple times for not having that cooldown available. Will it be a repeat of that?
I think this is very bad for Mirage now. They've got to really help out Rangjun in this game now, because he's up against Rika on this Victor who, granted, doesn't have the best laning phase, but he's got pretty much half the HP. Rika has got double the HP that Rangjun has before using those corrupting potion stacks, right? We've used 2 already from Rangjun to try and alleviate some of that early pressure, but Rika can just take these trades, and they don't necessarily have to be the best because he's got flash advantage, health advantage. You can look for these types of trades that don't necessarily go the best, but that they give you the overall HP total beat.
I feel like the observer is somewhat possessed by a overt cynicism there. It almost felt like just then we were looking for whether Raxo was going to in at level 1 again. With this, sort of with bated breath, is he going to do it this time? Manages to survive. He's going to be ticking over to level 2 just about. We're looking at mid lane now. Like you said, Rika is able to transition this early lane lead that he's got on. Managed to crash on the second wave, going to be able to crash on the third, and then probably look for an early win.
And you can already see Rika utilizing this Victor and the actual deceptively long range that you have from a Victor. If you're not familiar with what the champion can do in the early stages, you can, even though the range on the E start cast isn't too long, the distance that you can generate with it is upwards of 1,000. So getting into Victor's effective range isn't as hard as some people may tend to think, and Rangjun has to play with that in mind. You know, he's got the biscuits on lock, he's got the potions, so there is a fair amount of sustain there, but if these cooldowns continue to hit and Rika's able to, you know, continually proc mana flow, get a little bit more poke down, can be a really difficult lane state. The issue with, of course, having shoved that wave all the way in, it doesn't make the Vigor incredibly gankable unless, of course, you go for one of those scary dives.
I'm not a fan of Shio's early pathing. We spoke about him kind of trading tempos at bad times. He's actually opted in for the 3 camp, has those top camps available, but Diego's just gone straight off the full clear, which is going to mean he's having had that camp advantage. Those camps will be coming up sooner. Now Shio is trying to, he's alternating into those top side camps, but definitely advantage to Memento in this early game. Whether or not he can do anything with it is another question.
Yes, we need like a 30-second fast forward, I suppose, at this point. See what Memento looks to do. We didn't see that. That didn't happen.
He wouldn't have massively. I guess it would be good to aggro it, but it's not the most egregious mistake. It just looks a bit strange. We've all done it.
Yeah, true.
Guys, I know there's a lot of you laughing at home right now. We've all done it. We've all done it.
It has happened. There is certainly a Lee Sin Q that has gone wide on a stationary target. So it is what it is. But now we're at that point now. What can Memento do? He has the tempo advantage because he got his full clear off, got his reset going as well. Has the Sheen, very early skirmish power available to Memento. Advantage in levels and in items.
Wrapping around. Shio has the read on this play now. Rika does know that this is going to be a thing. Going to get stunned up, gravity field straight away. Shio's going to be off to the side here. Read the play because of the vision now. Memento might have to flash eventually. One more auto will do it and bring him into lethal, but he manages to flash away there. Good read and patience from Shio there. Gets into the push. If he can spot out any earlier, it would have dissuaded the play, but allows him to go forward. Good advantage for
once again, generating their leads through, I'm going to call them slightly weird means. If you are Memento there, I don't think you expect to see Shio in that particular area of the map, obviously. Maybe just anticipating the full clear on both sides. Shio went for that full clear straight back to base, and you don't anticipate that Shio would still be just clearing his 5th camp then. So, you know, it's one of those weird ones where you're thinking, Lee Sin should have based by now, but he hasn't. Nevertheless, regardless of the prelude, BDS Academy generate themselves another advantage, and whilst, of course, Memento is going to be still slightly ahead in terms of farming and in terms of the items that he's got, it's still going to be that disadvantage when we look at the summoner spells.
We spoke about this top lane matchup, especially with the Garen into Akali. You spoke about how the combo is useful, especially with the Shroud. I mean, I'm asking you to evaluate a Garen, which we don't see very often at all, Mr. Rude Dude. So I'm almost setting you a Herculean-like task. But when does this Garen come into prominence? Is it going to come into prominence anytime soon? What can we be expecting from this lane?
I think around first item, Adam is going to have just a turbo spike, essentially. You do need, like, maybe even it goes Berserker boots because of the way Garen's E works. It scales with attack speed. Yeah, he's hit that and then immediately, right? You see that this is a really good point to showcase that Bad Lulu needs to use his W, or needs to use the W, the Shroud, before the silence hits. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting there like a lemon getting wailed on by Garen.
He demonstrated a certain level of mastery within another. Hugo's arrived from Shio. Not having a great time with... He's landing the Qs on the champions, but these stationary camps really proving a bit of an issue for him. What's happened? And goes aggressively onto the wave. I think another thing to touch on, we don't even speak about it. Not exactly the direct matchup. Adam can clear these waves so quickly, and that might transition into a dive here. Bad Lulu is going to have just about enough energy for Shroud in a second or so. Memento has read the play well. Shio goes down. He's got his number there. Adam has to walk away here. Memento, it's just outside of range there, but very good read for Memento coming off the map here. Is going to mean that play gets ran out for Mirage. And a good start to the game in contrast to yesterday.
Yeah, linear flash from Adam, but just enough distance to get away. Really nice read from Memento. Bad Lulu, you know, obviously screaming for the assistance right there. Like, okay, they're stepping up aggressively to the turret. I need you out of base to come through. And fortunately, Memento's not got any camps to clear, so he doesn't mind spending a bit of time up in that top lane. Really wise clearing and fortunate timing on the path and get a window up to that top lane, finds the kill, things over to level 6 as well. We know that this Viego has been slightly further ahead of Shio on the time, or on the camps. It's once again going to be this sacrificial style, it looks like, for Shio, where he's not going for that hard clear farm style, which we like to see from Lee Sin, is their aggressive plays. We don't want to see them full clearing full camps every single time they're up. Going for these aggro plays, looking for objectives. Dives, unfortunately, this time round, Memento was wise.
I think it is important to note, although you are saying that it's a bit more of a sacrificial playstyle, I think that is good, but you need to actually leverage an advantage from that. So far, that dragon is being taken, which is somewhat good, but the fact that Memento was able to get the assist on that means that the camp advantage plus map state is beneficial for the side of Mirage now. It's more a case of what can they do with it.
So far, they have got that advantage, and it is largely around that jungle and the top lane. I think the mid and bot are still... One of them's in limbo, the other one is fairly skewed toward BDS Academy. Rika has got the slight advantage in the mid lane, 15 CS right now. Look at the combat items as well. We've got boots and a load of mana for Rangyun versus that Lost Chapter, a really nice early item for mages to collect. And then, you know, you've got down on the bot side, Berserker Boots versus the Noon Quiver, argue which you favour early on. The Berserker Boots certainly have a little bit more power. Once you reach that full mythic item early on, quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely going to be the case now. Not many teams, they're going to be seeing them now off the base. I'd expect both supports to potentially move towards the Rift Herald here. You can see blue side is pinging it. Viego is going to be looking to set up on for it as well. And what are your expectations for the next ensuing minutes? Who manages to get the main pull towards this Rift Herald, Mr.
Well, I think importantly we need to look at where the resets go, right? We've just seen Erdot go back to base. His deploy out onto the map is toward mid lane, not too committal just yet. But we could well see this top side of the map get fairly cluttered. Crownie's going to have first push, but he wants to base. He's got no mana, so can't fight. He sticks around for a wave. It's just going to be that 4v4 on the top side if any skirmish tends to come to fruition. You can see the Erdot in the mid lane, controlling the mid lane and then letting Rika establish priority so that they can move into this top side and potentially collapse on Memento, who's fairly far forward right now.
Memento is fairly far forward. It is going to be playing within somewhat lantern range, but it's just going to be a case of whether he can actually cross that area. It's a good little stun from Rangjin to get a bit of damage. They're not going to be able to do much more beyond this through the W shield, but it's going to be a Kali moving as well. And whether or not they can transition this pressure into a Rift Herald is another question. But right now, the question seems to be that red buff. Right now, Shio climbing a Q is probably going to go down to the smite. Does. They're looking aggressively though. We pan over here. Odo goes very low almost immediately. This flash is found there, and it's 2 kills quickly. We're a little bit focused on the red buff there. Didn't quite manage to see the fight that was ensuing.
And then complete control, really well executed by Mirage of that top side jungle. Wonderful stuff, and we do have a little pause here, guys, so we are going to cut back to us and we can slightly digest what has happened. You know, so far, Mirage 3-0 up. They have themselves that early lead, really controlling this early game much better than I'd certainly anticipated. BDS Academy have kind of been dictated to and not had much of a foothold in anything.
Strangely enough, right? We spoke about how Shio trades tempo a lot, play for quite selfish activities. This game it's happened again. Skip camps to kind of play around the map a little bit much. Strangely enough, not exactly who we would have expected due to their game one, day one performance, but Memento has actually been punishing it quite well. Shio has been over-aggressive on that top side play. Mirage are there to respond, and it means that now on this play here, they have the priority in the top side. They move into that jungle. They get the pick. They get 2 kills now. And it looks like they're primed for the Rift Herald as well. Not what we're expecting in terms of coming out with a team that didn't necessarily have the identity and strong early game. Mirage showing us something very different today.
Yeah, and I think that you know is certainly what we're after. They're able to get away with the nice plays on that top side. I think we have got a replay of what happened up in that top side to start it off, so hopefully we can get that one rolling in just a second or so. Really good execution from Mirage through the early game, and this is where we saw Raxo.
We didn't quite manage to see this. So this is the Veigar cage into the Thresh. Very good from them to get this. Bad Lulu means that Memento can get that reset very easily. It's 2 very quick kills that come as a consequence of the map state not being set up in favor of BDS Academy. Moving towards this, and I think a lot of this owes to the tempo that Memento has acquired thus far during this game.
Pretty sure we're back to live now, so this is quite nice.
We're in the land of the living. There's no reason.
Good stuff. Lovely. This is now a map state, as you mentioned, for Mirage that they've got a lot of control over. You can look at, just look at the top side jungle of BDS Academy right now. It is completely littered with blue side wards. Mirage know exactly what is happening in BDS Academy's jungle. You can see that Shio, with no wards on his, or with no camps on his top side, is going to head towards that bot lane. Means that Cody and Raxo down in this bot lane are likely going to have to play fairly safe and fairly quietly, whilst Shio makes his presence felt on that bot side, or at least until Memento can make his way down. They have got a Rift Herald to see where they want to use it. We've seen a lot of different priorities from pretty much a lot of teams. When you are playing up against a Victor and when you're playing up against Rika, who's still holding his own quite nicely in that mid lane despite the death, you start to question whether or not you want to put that Herald down there just for a little bit of chip damage. Yes, you're only going to generate 2 plates, but it's that question of, can I get a bigger advantage than just slowly whittling down a Victor's turret? Because taking his turret later in the game, pretty impossible.
I think it's going to be difficult. We spoke about how BDS Academy as a team, they like to get these conditions whereby you look at their identity from last split, it's very much about getting Crowny to that late game phase. Yesterday, Crowny was unfortunately kind of sold short for 9 silver pieces, and it meant that he fell behind very drastically, was dying a lot. This game not happening. Unfortunately, the sins of the rest of the map have not compromised Crowny. He's been able to get these waves in. We're constantly seeing them under the enemy turret, and that's why the bot lane turret for Mirage only has 2 plates left.
And like beautiful little synopsis of what has been happening. And now down on this bot side specifically, we've got that 3v3. Look at your mid laners. Who's going to roam first? Ooh. Rika has first move out of mid. They're getting collapsed fairly quickly.
Raj is going to find a stun here from a hook that went awry from Erdo. He's going to be going down almost immediately. Ultimate was good. Crowning Flash and Sums both away. He's going to be going down. Oy. Double kill for Memento on that Nautilus copy. Rangyun going to be getting caught out as well. Going to have to flash away. And it's a big performance from Memento.
Remember what I said early on, this composition from Mirage is great at taking small skirmishes, she's great at picking off 1 member, 2 members, particularly if they can get that reset going from Viego, and they utilize it beautifully. Credit to Raxo there, starts the play off with the hook, and then able to find a second onto Crowny, actually getting a pretty no-look hook that sets up with a lantern as well to get Memento in after having stolen away Erdo's body. Really good execution in these small engagements.
Mirage coming out, steaming out of the gates here with brutal force and aggression. Memento now 3-0-1. Really want to highlight the fact that he's really read the map well, able to get to these skirmishes and play it very well. Obviously, this Viego needs this damage. They're able to find it with stuff like the Veigar Cage, stuff like the Thresh as well. What does BDS Academy need to do to really acquiesce the lead that Mirage are building for themselves?
I think at the minute they're just playing into the hands of Mirage. They're just giving them these small skirmishes that they are going to be slightly favoured in. We're not at that point where Victor's even reached his first item, has probably just ticked over to, or had just ticked over to his first upgrade, I think after the fight that we saw him get picked off on. And it just keeps on, they keep on playing into the hands of Mirage, unfortunately. If they can slow the pace of the game down, get themselves to a better late game point, they can use Rika, they can use Crowny to be those large DPS sources. Adam's job this game is going to be to one-shot Cody. At any given opportunity, if Adam can find access to this Jinx, then that's what they're looking for. But the issue for them is Mirage and the way their composition functions. They've got a really good pick composition and then double reset champions. So their ability to isolate that first target is going to be so huge that Cody can get a reset quickly, Memento can get that reset quickly and start.
I don't know Adam's here. Raxo's going to walk in straight away here. Adam ignores it entirely, tries to get towards Cody's son. Ignite's come down, but he's been stunned up brutally here. Played like an absolute fiddle is Adam there. He's gone down very, very drastically.
And even bends the Ignite to get absolutely nothing from that situation. Raxo, as you mentioned, just playing this Thresh near flawlessly in that engagement, even off with the Lantern if necessary.
Nautilus, ultimate from there onto Memento. He's the shutdown man. He's been carrying this game since its inception. He almost goes down to the final thick of Ignite. Cody-san on a killing spree here. Gets in here onto Crowny, bad Lulu. Rika's going low as well. Rangjun's going to find it. It's an absolute wipe for Mirage. They found something that is water. They're drinking from the fountains of bounties here, and they're channeling forward a 7k gold lead at 15 minutes.
Unofficial ace for Mirage there. They find Adam off of a rogue engagement in the top lane, and then 4 other members who come to try and defend that top tier 1 end up falling. It's Erdo once again that starts us off, and this is unfortunately state of the game for BDS, where they just don't quite have enough damage to find the kills, to find those initial start-offs. And as soon as Cody gets 1 kill, he's able to channel in onto Erdok, close down. Then on the bot side of this map, had Lulu. Wonderful TP engagement to get in and take down the stragglers from BDS Academy. 10-0 here, Dante.
Yeah, completely. I mean, if you're a Mirage fan, this is really what you'd be expecting after a disappointing game one. You'd want to see them bounce back in a fruitful way. We were talking about during the game, at least put up a fight this game. They've done more than that in terms of setting expectations. They come out absolutely swinging at the gates. And it's almost getting to that point where you think with a 10-0 lead, that 2-turret lead as well, are we getting close to a knockout?
I mean, so far they're on the edge, right? There's no, we're still early enough into the game. Oh no, I think Crowley should just die here. Actually, this is a 1v1. Nobody's coming to support just yet. Okay, now finally, the rest of
Crowley probably gonna have to just
Mirage.
take the turret here. Uses the ultimate. He's not gonna be able to find too much space. Rangjin playing with his food at that point. They're gonna hand it over to Cody's son. And we spoke about this. Crowley, you had the conditions whereby the jungler hadn't completely compromised your lane. The waves were able to be ping-ponged backwards in that game of tennis that we spoke about in the previous game, but now it's the case. 3 consecutive deaths from both bot laners means that this game has been turned on its head. It's rampaging forward with unrelenting aggression, and Mirage should look to really tighten the screws on this game.
5,500 gold lead. They are certainly poised and ready to do so. Taking anything but that mid-tier 1 turret now. You know, tier 1 turret should be their goal, and this just sort of stem back to what I was mentioning with that first Rift Herald, where it can be fairly difficult to take down a Victor's turret. We are starting to see that one pretty much carbon copy. The issue for then BDS Academy is they're keeping Victor in the mid lane all the time. They're sending Crowley out to these long side lanes where he's not very safe. And now if they start to reposition Crowley so that he can get farmed safely, it means that mid-tier 1 turret is going to start to be much more threatened.
Agree with you there, Rude Dude. Adam, not able to find as much utility on this Garen pick as we'd like. It was obviously I believe it was the R5, correct if I'm wrong, Rude Dude. But with a pick like that, you're really looking to cement and set the tone. You've seen the enemy composition. You are then putting your best foot forward with the best pick you think for the situation. And he's not really been able to find much in this game. We spoke about how it might be having some lane advantages, not able to translate those at all. And getting completely just ragdolled around by Cody, Son, and Rack, so not a great look.
Looks like they're going to be trying to trade and facilitate a little bit more gold onto Adam, still thinking that later on he will have the opportunity to take out just one target and then skew the team fight into BDS Academy's favour. Certainly worthwhile. They are going to be opting into this top lane tier 2 trade for what is their mid tier 1, potentially their bot tier 2, and a dragon. I don't think that Adam will be able to get too much more. Doesn't have a particularly great way of closing out on this turret when Rangjun is going to be here and just quite easily able to clear the wave.
Yeah. Clearly it's going to be a second dragon now. Nice little bit of a damage boost for the likes of Veigar. Be very good for them. Mirage going to be moving towards this in about a minute and a half. The Baron is spawning. I'm looking to be expecting them to get some of this top lane vision a bit more pushed out. You can obviously see that BDS Academy has this vision in the topside jungle of Team Mirage. I'd like to see them go and sweep that out, go and control that area. There's no reason why you can't run over this game now.
Should be the plan for Mirage. Obviously 11-0 has been fairly one-sided, fairly dominant thus far. They do need to close out this game in a fairly timely fashion. They obviously don't have the late game constraints that we've seen from, for example, the Carmine Corp game yesterday, but they have got that Jinx in the late game. They have got a Carly who, regardless of timing, should have a large amount of impact. Question is, do Rika and Crowley get to a point where they can start to put numbers on the board as well? From the game yesterday, we know that Rika's certainly capable of team fighting well, but we need to see that really start to shine through now. The question, or the issue really, is that they never really want to be taking any team fights, and this is a great game for Mirage to show that they can potentially be one of our contenders for playoffs, for a top team, right? They came in last split, or from last split, they didn't particularly have the greatest showing, the greatest time of things, finished 9th overall. This is that chance for them to show that if they've got an 11-0 lead, they know how to close out and that they can challenge for the playoffs.
Yeah, completely. I think it's a really important statement piece in week 1 in terms of just allowing yourselves to set higher expectations from the other team. Not be a pushover, essentially. I feel like in week 1, we're rounding out some teams that are having more disappointing weeks. It's very important that Mirage have a good showing against BDS Academy, and I think it's even more disappointing for a team like BDS Academy with those talents that have such tenure. For them to start 0-2 would be a less than desirable week for them. They are staring at the pinnacle of an 0-2 week.
Still need to be closed out, does this game, and Mirage have slightly taken their foot off the gas in the last couple of minutes. They do have a Drake spawning in 3 minutes. That Baron has now spawned, And now we get to see that late game macro, their late game decision making and setting up for how to finish out a game of League of Legends. Raxo, going to start off with just controlling that top side jungle. I think that makes a lot of sense. Group up with your 3-man of ADC support jungle, let your side lane push in the waves there, and then you can utilize these 4-3 members that you can put in the mid lane. Once you've pushed in that mid wave, you move around the top side, you start to take vision back and try and control the jungle.
Yeah, I think important to note right now, you look at some of the item disparities that are been gained by this 5,000 gold lead. Full item on the Viego over the Lee Sin, that Locket Mythic being picked up. Nautilus still trawling and crawling towards that. We'll see if he picks it up now. Doesn't even quite have the gold for it. If a fight was to start now, that could be a massive difference maker in these team fights. Rude dude. The setup is looking good now for Mirage and Co. What more do we need to see from them?
Just continue to choke out this vision. They've still got a couple rogue wards that they need to get rid of in that top side, and you want to make it as difficult for BDS Academy to get access to the Baron Pit as possible. You see that Erdot doesn't feel any threat walking forward like that. He's got that one vision in the red buff. If you can utilize your window off the back of clearing mid wave, that's when you're looking to really force your advantage. You want to sit Cody in the mid lane, clear that wave as fast as possible, and then you have that window where you should have a numbers advantage where Crownie's clearing the mid wave in response. And you group up your 3 members, like I say, go into that top side, try and choke out as much as possible. And if you can sync that up with Rangjin making a play as well, then you've got 4 members that are going to win a short skirmish in that 4v4 style and go for the play. As it is right now, looks like we're going to take our final resets. We've got a Drake spawning in 90 seconds, and I expect attention to turn back towards that bot side, because trying to get up to that soul point really going to be a crucial goal for Mirage. They need to set themselves up for a different style of win condition that's a little bit easier to come by.
And obviously, you'd like to hasten them towards that more controlled style, but is there a danger in this control with a team like BDS Academy that will punish at a moment's notice and find a way back into this game if you allow them to? Do you think the nerves start to set in? Is there a danger in almost allowing this to stretch towards a soul 10 minutes in advance?
Yeah, I think that
5 minutes in advance, if you get it.
Well, yeah, if you move in haphazardly, and if BDS Academy are reading your play, they do have damage in their carries, right? We're looking toward a second item for Rika very soon. Second item for Crownie already has come through, so they aren't without damage, and they do have some fairly decent tools to pick off a single target as well. We saw Lee Sin Kick plus Nautilus ulti used to almost take down Memento earlier on. It really depends who's the one that's face checking. We've got a Viego with Death Stance that's really difficult to try and pick off.
BDS Academy is turning towards the Nash here. Bad Lulu goes in very aggressively onto Rika, finds that almost immediately. And the enemy team, BDS Academy, look towards. They were trying to pivot towards this Baron, but almost immediately Rika going down here means that they can't. Mirage is going to walk out through this exit, now walk towards the Dragon. They might have slight mid pressure they're going to be looking towards. This mid tower, but Veigar being here and reviving soon is going to mean that can't happen. Adam going to be getting caught off the side here. Has to flash. Oh, there's a teleport behind, though. Look at this from Bad Lulu. You can't quite see him just yet. Adam doesn't have flash here. He goes wide here. He's going to be getting caged up. That's going to be him going almost down immediately. Bad Lulu with a great teleport into Adam there without the flash previously. Memento goes in with the... Can't manage to find anything just yet. An extra kill is an extra bit of gold into the pocket. They're going to get the dragon that they were already promised. And Mirage walking away. No kills in response for BDS Academy. Not a perfect... skill-wise.
You need to just be a little bit cognizant right now. BDS Academy are looking to try and contest a 3 versus 3. Rika spends his TP to go to the top lane and really force the hammer down in that lane. I don't think they're going to get too much from it. There's a window where they may look to try and start the Baron off the back of Mirage's resets, and they do need to be careful that that doesn't end up happening to them. Rangjun is still pushing very aggressively bot lane.
Lulu goes into Shroud here. Nice little move from him. He does get queued, clipped on the side there. Rika goes down quite low with the R2. Bad Lulu just looks to do as much damage as possible. He does do that. Pink ward, teleport comes in. It's a big flash from Rangjun. Everfrost onto 2 means 3 people go down. It's a big victory for Mirage. They do get that one consolation kill in response, but it is them going towards this Nash, taking it down. It's a massive victory for them. Overstay from BDS Academy. They tried to find Bad Lulu there. He takes one down from the grave. Massive.
Yeah, 3 kills over to BDS, or over to Mirage on BDS, and the Baron as well. It wasn't the controlled, measured approach that we were hoping to see from Mirage, but what we did see was them willing and able to capitalize on mistakes. You know, they look at Bad Lulu here and they're thinking, okay, well, we kind of have to go for this play. We're so far behind that getting any sort of kill is going to be fairly beneficial to us. So setting up, they get that little engagement onto Bad Lulu. He trades one back onto Rika as well, which is so crucial here. He can't stay and be a part of this team.
Look at his flash from
Credit
engine.
to Flash. It's the Raxo Flash. That Raxo Flash, he double flays them out of their mobility toward the wall. I don't think that overall it has the biggest impact in the outcome, but Raxo has had an absolute 180, right? Day number one, we saw him get solo killed at 2v2. Today, he has been a different beast, completely unlocked on that Thresh.
Yeah, I mean, Raxo, you talk about him in game one, not to harp on him too much, but that early level 1 kill that he gave over really just completely rocketed. It was the butterfly effect that really made Mirage fall apart of the seams. Today, he had a complete 180. He's really hold and managed to weather the storm that was Crown Shot and Erdo basically rattling on the turret the entire time. He's had some very good map movements, some very good individual micro plays that have meant the Mirage looking a lot more impressive today. I mean, we can't really sing their praises enough.
Yeah, they had the complete 180 from day number 1 to day number 2 as well, right? Yesterday they played up against Vitality B that they just completely got stomped in, right? That game was not even close to being considered a 50-50 in terms of who could come out with it. And then today they've kind of done the same thing to BDS Academy thus far. Obviously the game isn't over yet and they still have to put that final nail in the coffin, but they have the tools, they have those potential implementations to secure this game with that Baron now in their back pocket. We have to see how well they can close out with probably the best sieging tool that we have known to man.
You're talking about the big purple worm.
I am, yeah.
Big Bazza is what I call it.
Bazza? No.
Big Bazza.
Maybe I'll allow that one. That one's not too bad.
You're not the boss of me, mate. I can call him Big Bazza if I want to.
I know, but when I say I'll allow it, I might call him Big Bazza back.
Ooh, bit of 1-2 play here.
We may join up. Make
a connect on that. I like that. That's good. Sorry for being so aggressive. I'm very defensive when it comes to Big Bazza Nash.
That's fair enough. I think a lot of teams tend to be as well. Unfortunately, Mirage.
Some teams are too offensive around Big Bazza.
Yeah, particularly BDS in that situation. They were too offensive nearby, and getting those picks caught out sort of led Mirage to the natural progression of, hey, well, we're right here. There's a Baron there. Big Bazza going to go down.
Absolutely. I like that. You've used it. I had a question for you in the previous game, and since we're doing a pause now that is a bit longer than, I'm raring to go back in the game. What dragon of the types do you think would be the most chill to have a pint with?
Cloud,
yeah. Mellow.
Cloud's definitely a bit of a vibe.
It's basically an inbuilt beer garden at that point, isn't it? With sort of the breeze.
Yeah, that's true as well. That's true.
Infernal Dragon would be a nightmare.
Definitely not. You definitely want to go for a pint with the Infernal Drake. I could argue Ocean as well. Like little poolside.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's more of a cocktail vibe.
That's more of a cocktail vibe. Absolutely. Yeah.
Go on holiday, all inclusive. You've got the little sun blaring. I went on a nice little all inclusive with a crepe as well. They had like a crepe bar, and we used to just sit in the pool, eat crepes, and have a nice time like that. Ocean Drake's definitely my number 2.
Ocean Drake's number 2. Mountain. I feel like Mountain might be quite chill actually. No, you don't think so?
Definitely not.
Think about traditionally characters that are rocks. Like Malphite's a really chill guy. Like, you ever heard Malphite's voice line?
I have.
He's just like rock solid. It's very like laissez-faire, very back and forth. That Rockman from Thor Ragnarok, he's very chill as well.
I'll take your word for it. Your word for it.
I'm glad I could have convinced you.
Well, you know what? It doesn't take a lot of convincing. I believe you with absolute authority on most things generally. Maybe a bit of a flaw of mine. But we've got about 30 seconds to a minute before we get back into the game, so we're just going to continue to vibe a little bit. We can touch on the game if we fancy, but get a little bit of personality out there. There's nothing wrong with it. You get to know us a little bit more as well. We're going to be here for a while for the rest of the season. There's certainly a lot of us to be seen, a lot of the players to be seen as well, though.
Yeah, a lot of the players to be seen. Sure. I'm just excited to get back into the game now.
Oh, okay. Couple seconds apparently. Love our producers in our shout out to Kate as well, who's doing a great job behind the scenes helping us.
It's her first day on production. She's absolutely smashing it, so shout out to her behind the scenes. But speaking of people who are smashing things, like a bull in a china shop, Mirage have absolutely ran over this game so far.
Yep, like we say. And now the question is, does the bull just does the bull go all the way into the cash register and just tear up the dollar bills that are in there, or do BDS have some last minute sort of defense mechanism? They got a tranquilizer dart locked and loaded as soon as the cache gets open.
I'm not sure. I think a heist has occurred in the sense that I think BDS Academy were not quite expecting Cody Sung. I suppose that might have been owing to our
This is
pause that we
why.
saw
Yeah.
previously. It's just a micro, bit of a micro lag. It happens sometimes. Dad was downloading something or something. Told him to go and turn it off. Very nice. Back to the game. Can focus. Oh, it's happened again. Axo as well, though.
Everybody's just had enough.
If they're just in their internet company is in pure disbelief that they're winning this hard. They're having to run some like background checks.
Yeah, potentially. Any DDoS efforts, no fun. We have got though the Baron on their board, right? 1 minute 30 till it elapses. That's 3 waves essentially of crashed minions that they can try and take turrets with. If you get this mid tier 2, that would be a pretty nice addition to their loot thus far. Currently sat, like I say, roughly 10,000 fold over the barrier of BDS Academy, and that's more than enough to tend to take these fights. Like we've said, their late game possibilities are certainly present. They've got Bad Lulu, they've got Cody Sun. These 2 champions are going to be more than enough to gateway them into a late game team fight possibility. They still have all of those pick tools that exist.
Wordo takes so much damage here. Shio has a nice little flank off to the side here, but Memento is going to be here. Whether he can find the angle is going to be difficult.
But he's about half. Well, he's going down low on
Goes
HP.
onto Bad Lulu. Shio going to get caught out here. That's going to be Bad Lulu almost one-shotting him here. There goes Ranjun. The problem with Lee Sin at this point is he's basically, you know, Lee Sin early game is like that karate master, like that Bruce Lee type figure. The problem with the late game Lee Sin is you almost become like that old karate master who, like, you know, you start talking about the good old days. Back in the 1970s, I'd like to do all of these kicks. The problem is, old man, you can't quite get your legs up that high anymore. Problem is, Shio not able to have that same kind of impact. Flash forward from Crowny means that he almost immediately gets stunned up there. Memento's damage is interstellar. And that's going to be a Dark Knight Rising for BDS Academy. Whether or not they can tattle along the base here, rattle it down here, get another inhibitor for themselves. Adam almost gets stunned up there. That might be the case here, but they are going to be transitioning this double inhibitor setup into that final piece of the puzzle, which is the Infernal Soul.
Yeah, get their resets off now. I guess Adam's trying to just run anchor, delay their resets as best as possible, and potentially give the rest of his team a chance.
Yeah, Adam tries here. Ignite is going to take Raxo out, but it's not exactly a priority target there. This is to get a... Is it worth calling that a consolation kill at that point? It almost feels like anger.
Well, I'd argue that a 1-3 scoreline looks better than an 0-3 scoreline.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Scores are weird, right? Where, like...
It's the best of a bad situation.
2 and 4 feels a lot better than 3 and 6. You know what I mean? Even though it's just one metric up.
Even though it's ratioed similar. Same ratio.
Stop ratioing me on caster, dude. That's so unprofessional of you.
I'm not ratioing anyone.
You need... The behavior has to increase from you, mate.
Increase?
Increase, yeah. In standards.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
100%.
10 seconds on the Infernal Soul, though. Andre, we should draw our attention to the fact that BDSA are down in the gutter right now.
Yeah.
They have to go for these unique plays. They have to try and make a little pick. Bad Lulu with some fairly wise pathing. Does he grief it at the last second? No, doesn't. Really nicely done. And now Memento just go forward.
Oh, Bad Lulu finds an absolute angle here. He's going to be going into the Shroud almost immediately. That's one reset. That's another kill. Double kill for Bad Lulu here. Gets kicked away by Shio. Veigar is off to the side here. Ranjun might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew, but no, Stasis is golden time for Mirage. They take out 4. That imminent top wave that we should have mentioned previously, the pressure that was mounting means that Bad Lulu can teleport right up to that. He's going to be greeting Adam here. Adam has that flash available, going to be getting played into the box here. He's going to be getting stunned up into that. That's going to be another kill for him. Who do they hand it off to? Could it be another kill for Bad Lulu? It is going to be the case. 819 turnaround performance. He got cracked open by Shigenda yesterday, but Adam is not the same opposition that we were hoping. It is going to be Mirage with an excellent game 2. End the week 1-1 against stronger opponents. What a turnaround for them.
Really good. And honestly, if you're Mirage here, a 1-1 up against 2 really strong LFL teams, I think you're more than happy to take that. That